The Oilers with a comeback for the ages as Connor Hellebuyck takes home some hardware. Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong joined alongside by Patrick Johnston and Steve Simmons. And guys, it's been a heck of a Stanley Cup Final series so far. I think we all knew that going in. These two teams were neck and neck. But wow, Game 4, definitely just an incredible game that Oilers fans are going to be talking about for a long time. Patrick coming back from 3-0, then giving up the game-tying goal in the final 20 seconds before a greasy, dirty, bouncy goal for Leon Draisaitl wins it. Yet another OT winner for Draisaitl in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So now we're down to a best of 3. The Oilers with home ice advantage. Who do you like the rest of the way?
You know, it's that never count out the Oilers thing. I mean, I said it 3-0. This team looks cooked. I think it's over. It's going to be 3-1. We're looking at a coronation parade, immediately being planned for the Panthers, and the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl show told us otherwise. And it's been a remarkable series 2 years in a row. As always happens, it's the unexpected characters like Vasily Podkolzin who love to play a role, always step up. Some great things happening. And it was exhausting to watch. I can't even imagine being one of the players in all of this. That's the thing that always gets me in games like that.
I'm sitting home and I'm watching the Oilers looking like they're dead. Like we're all wondering, oh boy, what a bad performance to come out for this. And then they switch goalies and they put in Pickard. Career minor leaguer, really, right?
Yeah.
Just a guy who's bounced around, been all over the place. He makes a whole pile of great saves. Like these crazy leg kicks and things that you just wouldn't expect him to be doing. And he's doing all of that as they're inching their way back into the game. And they're inching their way back into the game, and suddenly they're leading. 20 seconds to go, they're leading. They're going to win. The series is going to be tied. Now it's going overtime. It's like every time you think there's a script or you think something's going a certain way or you think the series has turned in whatever way you're looking at it turning, the opposite sort of happens. It's a fabulous, 3 of the 4 games have been fabulous and for very different ways. I thought the first 2 games were just, the quality of play was just so high. Mm-hmm. I thought last night the quality of play was not as high, but just crazy switches, the momentum switches. And one team looked like they were unbeatable, and then the other team looked like they were unbeatable, and then both teams looked like we were very beatable. And it's hard to all figure out right now.
The thing I'm waiting to see is what happens with energy levels. Obviously, now traveling back across the continent, we knew that was going to happen. But you look at, for instance, like Stuart Skinner. I was talking with Kevin Woodley, the goalie guru out here in Vancouver, and a bit of an argument over the goal that Skinner spills that ends up being a backdoor goal. That's when I really thought this is over. Like the goalie can't even help them. The penalty kill was not playing well. They weren't playing well. The Oilers weren't playing well defensively, but they pulled it together. And as you said, Pickard comes in and just gives them the few saves. Even with the breakdowns that were still happening for the Oilers, Pickard gave them the few saves that they just weren't getting from Skinner. And now you look at how is his energy going to play? You have to think he's playing next game. How is his energy going to run through this? Can this defense get any better than it's been? It certainly has struggled now 2 years in a row and been a big part of the story. Now, I think this defense core that the Oilers have been putting on the ice is better than what they had last year. Partly just because you take Vinny Desharnais out of the equation. But it's a question for me now, how do the energy levels go from here? Because we know, obviously, the depth we've talked about with the Panthers is so impressive. But the Oilers have, their forward group is outstanding. Their defense group has some question marks, but how can they manage their way through, the next 2 games, next 3 games potentially?
So a couple of days ago, I was saying to some friends, it's amazing what the Panthers are doing when Sam Reinhart isn't doing a whole lot and Sasha Barkov isn't doing a whole lot. And Matthew Tkachuk looks like a dead body and all this stuff is happening. So what's been happening since then? Matthew Tkachuk has been scoring and Sam Reinhart's been scoring and Barkov's making all kinds of plays. And so on the one hand, the best players on the Panthers, the real best players, not the guys who've been playing the best, the guys who are the best over 80 games, and the best players on the Oilers, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, are doing the Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid things. And that's what's going to make, I think, the next 3 games, if there is 3 games or 2 games, whatever it is, fascinating. Because, again, who scores the overtime goal? Draisaitl.
Yeah.
He just shows up and does what he's supposed to do. And he does it exceptionally well at the highest level at the best times. We can talk about him a lot. I still don't think we talk about him enough. He is generational and he is exceptional. And we know what McDavid is already. And I think we know what Tkachuk and Barkov and Reinhart are, big picture, very good, high level, national team players for their countries. But that's what makes now going into the next few nights. And the fact that they've kind of, decided with Sergei Bobrovsky, we're going upstairs on everything. So we're going high on everything, and you're going to have to stop it. And the first few goals were not pretty, but, they were up high, and that's the apparent weakness of Sergei Bobrovsky.
You want to hear a funny stat? I mean, he barely played. And obviously a bit of a homer call here because he's a local guy. But Troy Stecher barely played, and the Oilers are now 6-1 with him in the lineup in the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean anything for a guy who only played 4 minutes, but it's how all the different heroes. I mean, you have your top end guys and everything, and like you said, Draisaitl is just. It is tough to explain how good he is when he's playing with Connor McDavid on the same team. But it's just such a fascinating team because there's so many little bits to this lineup, and it's the same thing with the Panthers.
Well, if you go around the NHL and you break, who are the highest paid guys? And you have one in Vancouver in Elias Pettersson, and we have them in Toronto with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander and John Tavares. And you go through, whether it be Panarin or whatever team you're talking about, there's nobody like Draisaitl.
No.
Like, as good as Nathan McKinnon is, the timing that this guy has for big moments and for things that matter. You go back to, I think it was 3 years ago or 2 years ago, where he was playing like on one leg. And he was still, getting 2 points a game.
Yeah.
And it was like, he reminded me of that Monty Python character where they kept chopping off a different part of his body.
Right.
Come on, I'll fight you with my legs and I'll fight you with my arms and I'll do all that. I think that's what Leon Draisaitl is. I think he's one of these guys for the ages. There's not many of them, and we haven't seen many in our lives, period.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, the Black Knight loses. So hopefully that part of the analogy doesn't carry forward, but absolutely apt comparison. I love it.
Well, look, it's a good segue to talk about Leon Draisaitl as he finished second in Hart Trophy voting. And I think based off of his playoff performance, maybe some of the voters out there are questioning their selection of Connor Hellebuyck, who comes away with the Hart Trophy, the first goalie to win it since Carey Price did it back in 2014-15. We know, Steve, this honor goes to the regular season. You can't factor in playoffs. But when you look at the resume Connor Hellebuyck put together this season, did he deserve this honor over the likes of Leon Draisaitl or even Nikita Kucherov or Nathan McKinnon?
I'm going to go to my ballot where he was fourth. And so that's where I had him, and that's where I believe he should have been. I did not agree with the vote. I did not, I'm not a big fan of goalies winning the Hart Trophy. Patrick Waugh never won. Martin Brodeur never won. Ken Dryden never won. Glenn Hall never won. Terry Sawchuk never won. I can keep going here, by the way, for about the next hour of telling you goalies who never won it. Jacques Plante and Bernie Parent and guys who are all, in my opinion, better goalies than Connor Hellebuyck is, especially considering the guy's never had a playoff yet. And yes, it is a regular season award. It happens that they give him the award or they make it public yesterday on the day that Leon Draisaitl, who comes second in the voting, didn't get my vote, by the way, Kucherov did, second in the voting, and he wins the game in overtime. So, yeah, he had a great season. Yeah, Winnipeg Jets had a great season. And to quote Kevin Cheveldayoff, my friend, the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, nobody dreams of winning the President's Trophy.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Speaking from a city that's seen at least 2 President's Trophies in recent memory. I did vote for Connor Hellebuyck. I still stand by my vote. I mean, he was such an outstanding factor for the Jets this year. Perhaps it's not surprising as a result that he flopped in the playoffs. And you know what, Steve, maybe I will think a little harder about that going forward. But for me, the vote was about the performance in the playoffs, the regular season. And I thought he was just outstanding. I saw so much of him, obviously, and what an influence he made night in, night out. I saw a lot of Leon Draisaitl, who was my second vote as well. And it was a really difficult choice for me to pick.
Here's another thing I want to factor in. Josh Morrissey, I think, came fourth in the Norris Trophy voting.
Right.
Connor was a first-team All-Star at left wing. You start breaking down, Mark Scheifele is a very good first-line center in the NHL. You start looking at this is a pretty good hockey team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did have a great year. but he's not doing Dominic Hasek work from the back-to-backs. And I voted for Hasek in those years.
Sure.
So, to me, he was doing exceptional stuff. I just didn't think that was a team you needed to save because it was still a pretty good team without phenomenal goaltending.
The Hasek comparison is a really great one. I totally think you were right to do that, Steve, because he was such a dominant player in his era, absolutely. And I guess, if I'd sat back and said, was this a Hasek-like season? No, but he was just an absolutely outstanding player, and I thought he changed the game best just about every night. And to me, that's how you get into the consideration. And in the end, I felt he was a little more influential than Draisaitl, and I guess I was right because most people agree with me.
You know what? If you actually look at the voting, it was pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't close at all.
I was amazed by that part, to be honest, given how hard it was for me to pick between the two.
I'm starting to realize just how out of touch I am with the regular guy on the beat now and the people who are doing the voting and all this, because I look at the game one way and other people look at the game another way. And so when I'm convinced about something, and I even saw it yesterday with something, the Lady Bing of all things, which we should never be arguing about the Lady Bing. And
well, people don't know what it is.
What?
People don't know what it is. What are we voting for?
I'll tell you what it is if you actually look at the list of people who won it.
Yeah.
It's an award that's only been won by great players.
Yeah.
It's been won by exceptionally good players.
Yeah.
From the Datsuks and you can just go through the entire list. It's phenomenal players. But I thought Nick Suzuki really, really fit the category just perfectly this year. And I think he finished fifth in voting. And I thought, I'm banging my head against the walls here, guys, because I'm going in one direction and the rest of our friends with our voting friends are going in another direction.
If it makes you feel better, Steve, I had him second. I did have Kopitar number one. I had Suzuki second. And I think, to be perfectly honest, that was probably a case of I've seen one of these players more than the other. But when I did see Suzuki, this is a guy that, to quote every coach in existence, I think right now, who plays the game the right way. And I've always thought Kopitar did, and he just had such a masterful season. I wanted to recognize it in some way.
I need a coach. I need a coach or a GM to explain to me what the right way is exactly. When, especially when you have Paul Maurice playing one kind of hockey and Chris Knobloch playing another kind of hockey. What is the right way when the Oilers and the Panthers are playing?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one voter gave Nick Suzuki a first place vote for the Hart Trophy, so he thought that
that was
the most.
That's a little much.
Thought he was the most exceptional player in the league this year. So yeah, I agree. Maybe that's a little bit too far, but the voting is always interesting, and it's nice that we get to see how it all breaks down.
Can I jump in for one quick moment here, because we got Patrick here?
Yeah,
7 people didn't vote for Quinn Hughes. Do we know who they are? Do we know their names?
We'll know them soon. I think
the
ballots have been released, have they not? I think they have.
I just haven't had time to go through them. But
I had him fifth.
It's embarrassing to me.
It's surprising. I can understand people perhaps having a hard time understanding his season because he had that long stretch where he was hurt. But even when he came back and was, there was nothing to play for in the country, he was still trying to make things happen, trying to give his team a chance to win every night. He has really become such a remarkable player. And as someone who obviously, covers a market that has not paid attention too much these days, and for understandable reasons, because the team isn't winning, we do have a remarkable player here. And so it is good to know that, guys like you back east are aware of how well this guy plays and what an influence he is. And, if he has a healthy season again next year, it's going to be neck and neck for him with Makar for the Norris, and certainly he'll be back in the Hart consideration. I think there's absolutely no doubt.
Yeah, feels like we could spend a whole episode breaking down everyone's votes when it comes to the NHL awards. But who do you think should have won the Hart Trophy? Let us know in the comments below. For Steve Simmons and Patrick Johnston, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.